Coming into this NBA season, the Phoenix Suns were looked at by many, including myself, to be one of the worst teams in the Western Conference. Losing one of the best players the NBA has ever seen in Kevin Durant will do this to you, especially since they didn't even play that well with him. And when you get back talent for him that is nowhere near up to par, it is easy to see why many people counted the Phoenix Suns out. So how did a team that everyone was laughing at turn into one of the most solid squads in the entire league? Let's talk about it. Hello everyone and welcome back to Step Back with Zach, and in today's video I want to talk about the emergence and the surprise that is the Phoenix Suns. Before we go any further though, please don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It is my goal to hit 100 subscribers before April, so your subscription would be greatly appreciated. And seeing as today, the day of recording, it is my birthday, the 31st of January, that would be the best birthday present you guys could ever give me. So thank you. Firstly, before we get into how they're doing it, I want to talk about the expectations that the Phoenix Suns had coming into the season. As I mentioned, the Phoenix Suns were looked at to be a bottom feeder team out west. And I did not see one person, not one single person, say that the Phoenix Suns were going to do anything this NBA season. And if you try to tell me that you did, I will just straight up tell you, you're a liar. Because no, you didn't. The Phoenix Suns preseason over-under wins rate was at 30.5, meaning, if you guys don't know, that they were projected to win roughly around 30 games through the entire NBA season. And this 30.5 was tied with the New Orleans Pelicans and was only above teams like the Hornets and the Nets and the Jazz and the Wizards. So the second worst team out west, only behind Utah. With a concerning looking roster last year, even with the greatest scorer the game has ever seen in Kevin Durant, where they only won 36 games and missed the playoffs entirely. This year's roster without KD was undeniably worse. Right? Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets for Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green, who are good NBA players in their own respect, but they are not Kevin Durant. Dillon Brooks is an absolutely outstanding defender. He's a menace. He's annoying. His nickname is literally Dylan the Villain. However, not a good scorer. He's never been known to put the ball in the hoop, and Jalen Green is kind of the complete opposite of this. He can only score. There's nothing else that Jalen Green can really do out there on the court. He's an alright defender. His athleticism is crazy, but he's proven time and time again that he's inconsistent and does not rise up when needed most. Jalen Green was also looked at to miss a couple of weeks to start the NBA season, so another reason why the Phoenix Suns were looked down upon. They also brought in big man Mark Williams, who is a solid center. He's not anything special, but he's not bad, but he's always been injured. The dude has never played over 44 games across 4 seasons. So again, we look at that and saying, okay, yeah, they've got Nick Richards, they drafted Kamal Maluach, but their center depth just also isn't really all that. And they also looked like they didn't have a solid point guard. Like, we knew that they had Colin Gillespie. Last year they had Tyus Jones, who was terrible for them, by the way. But again, many people, including myself, thought that Devin Booker was going to have to play his unnatural position at the point guard. All of these reasons that are just stacking up. After firing NBA championship winning coach Mike Budenholzer, they brought in somebody that nobody has ever even heard of before in Jordan Ott. I don't know his backstory. I don't know where he's come from. I don't know what he did before the Phoenix Suns job, but I know that he's pretty good friends with Phoenix Suns owner Matt Ishbia. And ultimately, we thought that was the reason that he got this job. Not because he was good or anything, just because they were good friends. And speaking of Matt Ishbia, he has made some pretty stupid decisions in the past, and quite frankly, I thought that he was an idiot. With, you know, that random coach hiring that I just mentioned and some questionable statements last year as well as some weird moves, it just didn't look like he had the Phoenix Suns' best interest at heart. And yes, he always made moves to win now, but ultimately he didn't really think, he just kind of did. And then, because of all this uncertainty on the Phoenix Suns roster, many people expected Devin Booker to demand a trade because this team had seemingly no direction or a chance to win, no identity, nothing. So nothing about this team seemed competent, or even good for that matter. However, the Phoenix Suns did start the season pretty slow. In their first 5 games, they had a 1-4 record, proving what most people thought, and 2 of those losses were absolute blowouts. But then they started to win. In their next 15 games, they go 11-4, where in that stretch, they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves and the San Antonio Spurs twice. And the first victory they had against San Antonio was the Spurs' first loss of the season, and they held Wemby to still debatably his worst game of the NBA season. He only had 9 points along with 6 turnovers on 4 for 14 shooting. But the biggest thing that came out of this game from the Phoenix Suns is they laid down the blueprint for all other 28 NBA teams to copy on how to slow down Victor Wembanyama. And then after those first 15 games, they have gone 17-11 and have had some really, really solid wins, beating the OKC Thunder, the Lakers, and the Knicks twice. They beat the Wolves again, and they beat the 76ers, and just last night, they beat the Detroit Pistons. So those teams are nothing to sneeze at. Absolutely not. Even in losses this year, they have been fairly competitive in a lot of them, where they have only lost by single digits in several of them. I tried to look up how many points they are outscored by when they lose, but nowhere wanted to tell me, so I can't give you that exact number. If I find it, I'll put it up on the screen. If not, you're just going to have to take my word for it. And because of these close games, a lot of the time, they have been involved in 23 clutch games this season. All of this resulting in a 29-19 record, where they sit as the 7th seed out West and are now only 2 games away from passing their preseason over-under wins record, and we are not even at All-Star yet. What? So how on earth are they doing this? And the main thing that I can tell you as to why this has happened is the fact that every single player on this roster is absolutely bought in to the new culture, playing with some absolutely insane energy and a never give up kind of attitude. We're going to start with talking about, though, the best player on the team, Devin Booker. Now, Devin Booker is not having a particularly incredible season for his standards. He's actually having a pretty down shooting season. He's averaging 25.4 points per game along with 4 boards and 6.2 assists. But like I said, although the shooting hasn't been there, he has been such an incredible leader for this Phoenix Suns squad. The team is 5 points better with him on the court. Devin Booker said coming into the season that he was going to need to take on a leadership role, and he has absolutely excelled in that. If he wasn't bought into what the Phoenix Suns have been doing this year, there is no chance at all that the Phoenix Suns will be anywhere near as good as they are right now. He is, however, shooting very decently from the mid-range. He's shooting 46.2% from 10 to 16 feet and 48% on his long twos. His three-point shooting, though, is what is letting him down. He's shooting a little over 31% from 3. But and as much as I hate to say this, because you guys know, or you should know, that this man is one of my least favorite players, or has been for a very long time, ever since he was back on the Grizzlies talking shit to LeBron, Dillon Brooks. My, you, my friend, have proven me wrong this season. Before we talk about anything to do with stats, I want to talk about the fact that Dillon Brooks single-handedly can change an entire culture of an NBA team. We saw him do this with the Houston Rockets, where he was traded in 2023, taking them from a pretty poor defensive team to a really, really, really solid one. The way he plays, that chaotic energy where he's always scrappy, always up in your face, and is never afraid to back down from a challenge, is infectious amongst his teammates. You see someone playing like this, you want to play like that as well. You want to be hype. Dillon Brooks is a culture changer. He is averaging a career high 21 points per game to go along with 3.6 boards and 1.8 assists, as well as 1.1 steals per game on 44.5% shooting, which isn't great, but it is still a career high for him, and 35.2% from 3 on 7 attempts, and 86.1% from the free throw line, which is a career high, and all this contributes to a 55.7% true shooting percentage, which is also career high. And although that is lower than league average, it doesn't really matter. He has had games this season where he has been so good, putting up high scoring numbers. He's had a couple 30+ point games and so many mid to high 20 point games. Now, you guys know that I absolutely love talking about advanced stats. However, in Dillon Brooks' case, the advanced stats actually don't love him. However, that does not tell his story. Dillon Brooks, just last night, against the second best defense in the entire NBA, dropped a career high 40 points on Asar Thompson's head on 59% field goal shooting as the primary offensive option, as Devin Booker is dealing with an injury at the moment. And yes, the Detroit Pistons were healthy. Dillon Brooks is never going to be an incredibly efficient scorer. That's not what he does. Dillon Brooks' ability to defend the ball and just cause absolute chaos and bring so much energy is the biggest reason that this Phoenix Suns team is as solid of a defense as they are. Now I just want to talk about some of the other players on the squad that have been really, really impressive. Grayson Allen is having a career year this year. 16.4 points per game, which is a career high, and he has had a 42-point game this season against the New Orleans Pelicans where he shot 10 for 15 from 3. He's also a scrappy defender. We know him as a dirty player. He has gotten a little bit better at not being so dirty on the defensive end, but he, alongside Dillon Brooks, is scary. Colin Gillespie, or Gillespie, I've heard it said both ways, so I quite frankly have no idea how to say it, but this season looks like a real NBA player. And before you go, oh, of course he's an NBA player, he's in the NBA. Please. His first 2 seasons were just so whatever. He, though, is having a much improved season in literally every single stat category on career volume. Mark Williams as well is on pace to have his most games played in a season. He has played 43 games out of a possible 48 and is just looking really, really solid as the starting center for this Phoenix Suns side. He has been really, really good for what we know him to be. He's been getting his rebounds. He's actually been a pretty solid defender. He's been a good lob presence. He's been a good rim runner. Just looking really impressive. Royce O'Neal, another absolutely savvy, scrappy guy who's seeming to be a secondary enforcer on the squad behind Dillon Brooks. Royce O'Neal is the best corner three-point shooter in the NBA, shooting 55.1% on his corner threes this season, which leads the entire NBA, as well as also shooting 40% from beyond the arc. Royce O'Neal is having an incredible season himself. And then you have other players like Ryan Dunn, Jordan Goodwin, Oso Ighodaro, who have been really, really, really good defenders out there, especially those first two. Ryan Dunn and Jordan Goodwin are so scrappy. They are everywhere. They move their feet. Really good POA guys. And Jamari Bouye, I hope I didn't butcher that, and if I did, I apologize. He's been really, really solid. Every single game that I've seen to tune in, the dude is knocking down threes after threes after threes. He's really, really solid. I never heard of him before this season. I don't even know where he came from. But shout out to the Phoenix Suns front office for finding a diamond in the rough there. And we, of course, cannot talk about how good the Phoenix Suns have been without talking about head coach Jordan Ott. As I mentioned earlier, Jordan Ott was an unknown. He was someone that we had no idea of his past experience. We had no idea what he was capable of as an NBA coach, and I'm pretty sure he wasn't even an assistant coach anywhere else, and if he was, I'll correct that on the screen, but he has been so good. The best coach the Phoenix Suns have had for a while, and the Phoenix Suns have had Monty Williams, they've had Mike Budenholzer, they've had Frank Vogel. All 3 of those guys are championship caliber coaches. But Jordan Ott has been able to get his players to absolutely buy in on the defensive side of the ball, and he has gotten them to believe in themselves when nobody else did. He has installed a culture of accountability in this team and within the organization in general, and has implemented a fast-paced style of offense. He has been really good at navigating through all the injuries that the Phoenix Suns have in fact suffered during this NBA season, where he's also got his role players to look really, really solid. One thing Jordan Ott is absolutely incredible with, and I wish a lot of other coaches did this as well, is knowing when to call a timeout. Whenever he senses that the opposing team is gaining any sort of momentum, he will call a timeout to shut that down immediately. It's an underrated thing that not a lot of people talk about, but Jordan Ott's ability to do that is really good. It shows that he's got really good game sense and a high IQ on the coaching level. He's really good at making in-game adjustments in these timeouts to give his team the best shot of slowing down the opposing team and then continuing to pile on their points. This team has built an identity around absolutely insane defense. They have savvy defenders everywhere. They are second in the NBA in terms of steals per game with 10.2, only trailing the Detroit Pistons, and considering that no one on the squad averages more than 1.5 steals per game, this is an incredible number. They are 5th overall in defensive rating across the association at 111.9 and are tied with the Houston Rockets. And they sit with the 11th best net rating. However, they are only 15th in offense. But the Phoenix Suns give up the 5th least points per game to opponents on the 6th least amount of makes per game. And they don't let their opponents make 3-point shots either. They are 3rd in opponent made threes per game at only 12.2 on the 8th best percentage. They as well do average the 4th most fouls per game, and this really shows how savvy and scrappy and in your face and physical the Phoenix Suns really get. They allow the 9th least points in the paint and the 4th least amount of points off turnovers, and they force the 3rd most turnovers per game while also giving up the 4th least amount of assists to their opponents per contest. The team is 3-4 without Devin Booker, showing their competence without their star player. Now, in reality, can the Phoenix Suns actually keep this up? And to be honest, yeah, I think they can. But there is also a chance that it will slip because maybe they are just having a historically great start for their standards of what this team was supposed to be, but I really think they can keep it up. Do I think that they're going to jump to like the 4 seed or the 3 seed or something? Absolutely not. I don't see that anywhere near the realm of possibility because that means that they have to be better than the Rockets and the Nuggets or the Spurs if they get around to that level, and the Timberwolves. However, even though I'm saying that they can keep this up, we need to keep in mind that this team is still flawed. Relying on Dillon Brooks so heavily as a second option and as a main guy when Devin Booker goes down is not really the best recipe for success. And yes, I know that Jalen Green is still on this roster, but he hasn't proven this year that he can stay on the court. The injuries keep hitting them, and although they haven't had anything super significant apart from the Jalen Green stuff, those little missed games and spurts here and there are going to cause inconsistencies within the squad. They're going to cause people to not get enough proper reps on the court to build the chemistry up with the current Phoenix Suns roster. So all of these little factors can kind of take a toll. Like we've seen Devin Booker miss time, we've seen Dillon Brooks miss time with some injury management, we've seen Colin Gillespie be injured for a little bit. He is coming back though, so that's good. Something that's not talked about a lot is the fact that the Phoenix Suns to this point have had the 8th hardest strength of schedule. And going forward, they will still continue to have the 8th hardest strength of schedule. So the fact that they're 29-19 while having that much against them is really proving that they can do it. And that's ultimately why I think that they can keep it up. And yes, it is the start of the season where players are fresh. However, you got to keep in mind as well that they're still building their chemistry there and they're still trying to figure out what works. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what I think their ceiling is going to be. And ultimately, I think that the Phoenix Suns are going to make the playoffs, but I think that they're going to be a first round exit. If the playoffs were to start today, they would be versing the San Antonio Spurs because the Suns are the 7th seed, the Spurs are the 2nd seed. And although they've already beaten the Spurs twice this year, that first game, Victor Wembanyama was terrible, like I said, and I don't expect him to keep playing that badly. And De'Aaron Fox just wasn't playing because he was still injured. And then that second game, Victor Wembanyama didn't play at all. I just can't see the Phoenix Suns beating the Thunder or the Spurs or the Nuggets or the Rockets or the Timberwolves in a best of 7 series. They can probably beat the Lakers though. I just think the Lakers will have more playoff experience and will be able to get past them. But that is all from me for this video about the Phoenix Suns. Let me know what you guys think about the Phoenix Suns down in the comments below. And if you agree with what I've been talking about and if there's anything that you think I've missed when it comes to how the Phoenix Suns have been so successful. But like I said in the intro, please don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.